Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, where we're associating with Srila Prabhupada, frankly, liberated soul. And just by hearing with faith and with love, without argument, just accepting the things that he says are true, we're being purified, and gradually we're awakening our love for Krishna, our love for him. So welcome aboard again. We thank you for your attendance. Please share, get as many persons on board with this simple process of hearing and chanting together in the association of other devotees with like-minded, a taste of Srila Prabhupada's books. I was reading Giriraj Maharaj's new book today. We came towards the end of Srila Prabhupada's pastimes, and he was speaking about how much it means to him that devotees read his books and that people get his books and read his books. This is the plan. We should not neglect it. Okay, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Mahima Stotram. We recite it every day. Srila Sanatana Goswami's glorification of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the world. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Prabho Kalidvan Doditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguru Man Mahadana Man Nistadaka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu Sadhu Tadutadayin, Asadu Sadutadayin, Adini Chochatakada, Hanamun Chagadachin Mam, Premna Rit Kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Krishna is getting his way. What Krishna wants, Krishna gets. We've reached the 12th chapter of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the killing of Aghāsura, demon. Once the Lord Once the Lord desired to go early in the morning with all his cowherd boyfriends to the forest, where they were to assemble together and take lunch. As soon as he got up from bed, he blew his buffalo horn bugle and called all his friends together. Keeping the calves before them, they started for the forest in a great procession. In this way, Lord Krishna assembled thousands of his boyfriends. They were each equipped with a stick, flute, and horn, as well as a lunch bag, and each of them was taking care of thousands of calves. All the boys appeared very jolly and happy in that excursion. Each and every one of them, including Krishna, was attentive to his personal calves as he herded them in the different places in the forest. The boys were fully decorated with various kinds of golden ornaments, yet out of sporting propensities, they began to pick up flowers, leaves, twigs, peacock feathers, and red clay from different places in the forest and further decorate themselves in different ways. While passing through the forest, one boy stole another boy's lunch package and passed it to a third. And when the boy whose lunch package was stolen came to know of it, he tried to take it back. But the boy who had it threw it to another boy. This sportive playing went on amongst the boys as childhood pastimes. When Lord Krishna went ahead to a distant place in order to see some specific scenery, the boys behind him ran to try to catch up and be the first to touch him. So there was a great competition. One would say, "I will go there and touch Krishna." And another would say, "Oh, you cannot go. I'll go, Krishna. I'll touch Krishna first." Some of them played on their flutes or vibrated bugles made of buffalo horn. Some of them gladly followed the peacocks and imitated the onomatopoetic sounds of the cuckoo. While the birds were flying in the sky, the boys ran after the birds' shadows along the ground and tried to follow their exact courses. Some of them went to the monkeys and silently sat down by them, and some of them imitated the dancing of the peacocks. Some of them caught monkeys by the tail and played with them, and when the monkeys jumped into a tree, the boys followed. When a monkey showed its face and teeth, a boy imitated and showed his teeth to the monkey. Some of the boys played with the frogs on the bank of the Yamuna, and when out of fear the frogs jumped into the water, the boys immediately dove in after them. And when the boys came out of the water and saw their own shadows, they would stand imitating, making caricatures, and laughing. They would also go to an empty well and make loud sounds. And when the echo came back, they would call it ill names and laugh. As stated personally by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita, he is realized proportionately by transcendentalists as Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here, in confirmation of the same statement, Lord Krishna, who awards the impersonalist the pleasure of Brahman realization by his bodily effulgence, also gives pleasure to the devotees as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are under the spell of the external energy, Maya, take him only as a beautiful child. Yet he gave full transcendental pleasure to the cowherd boys who played with him. Only after accumulating heaps of pious activities were those boys promoted to personally associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who can estimate the transcendental fortune of the residents of Vrindavan? They were personally seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. He whom many yogis cannot find even after undergoing severe austerities, although he is sitting within their hearts. I'm going to repeat that sentence. They were personally seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, He whom many yogis cannot find, even after undergoing severe austerities, although He is sitting within their hearts. This is confirmed. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. One may search for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through the pages of the Vedas and Upanishads, but it is difficult to find Him there. However, one who is fortunate enough to associate with a devotee can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. After accumulating pious activities in many, many previous lives, the cowherd boys were seeing Krishna face to face and playing with Him as friends. They could not understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they were playing as intimate friends with intense love for Him. When Lord Krishna was enjoying his childhood pastimes with his boyfriends, one Aghāsura demon became very impatient. He was unable to tolerate seeing Krishna play so happily, and therefore he appeared before the boys, intending to kill them all. This Aghāsura was so dangerous that even the denizens of heaven were afraid of him. Although the denizens of heaven drank nectar daily to prolong their lives, they were afraid of this Aghāsura and were wondering, when will the demon be killed? The denizens used to drink nectar to become immortal, but actually they were not confident of their immortality. On the other hand, the boys who were playing with Krishna had no fear of the demons. They were free of fear. Any material arrangement for protecting oneself from death is always unsure. But if one is in Krishna consciousness, then immortality is confidently assured. The demon Aghāsura appeared before Krishna and his friends. Aghāsura happened to be the younger brother of Putana and Bhagasura, and he thought, Krishna has killed my brother and sister. Now I shall kill him along with all his friends and calves. Aghāsura was instigated by Kamsa, so he had come with determination. Aghāsura also thought that when he would offer grains and water in memory of his brother and sister and kill Krishna, all the cowherd boys, then automatically all the inhabitants of Vrindavan would die. Generally, for the householders, the children are the life and breath force. When all the children die, then naturally the parents also die on account of strong affection for them. Aghāsura, thus deciding to kill all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, expanded himself by the yogic city named Mahima. The demons are generally expert in achieving almost all kinds of mystic powers. In the yoga system, by the perfection called Mahima Siddhi, one can expand himself as he desires. The demon Aghāsura expanded himself up to 8 miles and assumed the shape of a very fat serpent. Having attained this wonderful body, he stretched his mouth open just like a mountain cave. Desiring to swallow all the boys at once, including Krishna and Balarama, he sat on the path. The demon in the shape of a big fat serpent expanded his lips from land to sky. His lower lip was touching the ground, and his upper lip was touching the clouds. His jaws appeared like a big mountain cave without limitation, and his teeth appeared like mountain summits. His tongue appeared to be a broad traffic way, and he was breathing just like a hurricane. His eyes were blazing like fire. At first the boys thought that the demon was a statue, but after examining it, they saw that it was a big serpent lying down on the road and whitening his mouth. The boys began to talk among themselves. "Dear friends, this figure appears to be a great animal, and he is sitting in such a posture just to swallow us all. Just see, is it not a big snake that has widened his mouth to eat us all of us?" One of them said, "Yes, what you say is true. This animal's upper lip appears to be just like the sunshine, and its lower lip is just like the reflection of red sunshine on the ground." Dear friends, just look to the right and left-hand side of the mouth of the animal. Its mouth appears to be like a big mountain cave, and its height cannot be estimated. The chin is also raised just like a mountain summit. That long highway appears to be its tongue, and inside the mouth it is as dark as in a mountain cave. The hot wind that is blowing like a hurricane is his breathing, and the fishy, bad smell coming out from his mouth is the smell of his intestines. They then further consulted among themselves, if we all at one time entered into the mouth of this great serpent, how could it possibly swallow all of us? And even if it were to swallow all of us at once, it could not swallow Krishna. Krishna will immediately kill him, as he did Aghāsura. Talking in this way, all the boys looked at the beautiful lotus-like face of Krishna, and they began to clap and smile. And so they marched forward and entered the mouth of the gigantic serpent. Meanwhile, Krishna, who is the super soul within everyone's heart, could understand that the big statuesque figure was a demon. The boys did not know this, however, and thus, while Krishna was planning how to stop the destruction of his intimate friends, all the boys, along with their calves, entered the mouth of the serpent. But Krishna did not enter. The demon was awaiting Krishna's entrance, and he was thinking, "Everyone has entered except Krishna, who has killed my brother and sister." Krishna is the assurance of safety to everyone, but when he saw that his friends were already out of his hands and were lying within the belly of a great serpent, he became momentarily aggrieved. He was also struck with wonder at how the external energy works so wonderfully. He then began to consider how he could kill the demon and at the same time save the cows, boys, and calves. Although there was no factual concern on Krishna's part, he was thinking like that. Finally, after some deliberation, he also entered the mouth of the demon. When Krishna entered, all the demigods who had gathered to see the fun and who were hiding within the clouds expressed their feelings with the words, "Alas, alas." At the same time, all the friends of Aghāsura, especially Kamsa, who were all accustomed to eating flesh and blood, expressed their jubilation, understanding that Krishna had also entered the mouth of the demon. While the demon was trying to smash Krishna and his companions, Krishna heard the demigods crying, "Alas, and alas," and he immediately began to expand himself within the throat of the demon. Although he had a gigantic body, the demon choked by the expanding of Krishna. His big eyes moved violently, and he quickly suffocated. His life air could not come out from any source, and ultimately It burst out of a hole in the upper part of his skull. Thus his life air passed off. After the demon was dead, Krishna, with his transcendental glance, alone, brought all the boys and calves back to consciousness and came with them out of the mouth of the demon. While Krishna was within the mouth of Aghāsura, the demon's spirit soul came out like a dazzling light, illuminating all directions, and waited in the sky. As soon as Krishna came out of the mouth of the demon with his calves and friends, that glittering, effulgent light immediately merged into the body of Krishna within the vision of all the demigods. The demigods became overwhelmed with joy and showered flowers on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and thus they worshipped him. The denizens of heaven danced in jubilation, and the denizens in Gandharvaloka offered various kinds of prayers. Drummers beat drums in jubilation. The Brahmanas recited Vedic hymns, and all the devotees of the Lord chanted the words Jai, Jai, all glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Lord Brahma heard those auspicious vibrations which sounded throughout the higher planetary system, he immediately came down to see what had happened. He saw that the demon was killed, and he was struck with wonder at the uncommon, glorious pastimes of the personality of Godhead. The gigantic mouth of the demon remained in an open position for many days, and gradually dried up. It remained a spot of pleasure pastimes for all the cowherd boys. The killing of Aghāsura took place when Krishna and all his boyfriends were under 5 years old. Children under 5 years old are called Komara. From 5 years up to the 10th year they are called Poganda, and from the 10th year to the 15th year they are called Kaishora. After the 15th year, boys are called youths. For 1 year there was no discussion of the incident of the Aghāsura demon in the village of Braja. But when the boys attained their 6th year, they informed their parents of the incident with great wonder. For Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is far greater than such demigods as Lord Brahma, it is not at all difficult to award one the opportunity of merging with his eternal body. Thus he awarded to Aghāsura this he awarded to Aghāsura. Aghāsura was certainly the most sinful living entity, and it is not possible for the sinful to merge into the existence of the Absolute Truth. But in this particular case, because Krishna entered into Aghāsura's body, the demon became fully cleansed of all sinful reactions. Persons constantly thinking of the eternal form of the Lord in the shape of the deity, or in the shape of a mental form, are awarded the transcendental benediction of entering into the kingdom of God and associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we can just imagine the elevated position of someone like Aghāsura, into whose body the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, personally entered. Great sages, meditators, and devotees constantly keep the form of the Lord within their hearts, or they see the deity form of the Lord in the temples. In that way they become liberated from all material contamination, and at the end of the body enter into the kingdom of God. This perfection is possible simply by keeping the form of the Lord within the mind. But in the case of Aghāsura, the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally entered. Aghāsura's position was therefore greater than the ordinary devotees or the greatest yogis. Maharaj Parikshit, who was engaged in hearing the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, who saved the life of Maharaj Parikshit while he was in the womb of his mother, became more and more interested to hear about him. And thus he questioned the sage Shukadeva Goswami, who was reciting Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam before the king. King Parikshit was a bit astonished to understand that the killing of the Aghāsura demon was not discussed for 1 year, until after the boys attained the Poganda age. Maharaj Parikshit was very inquisitive to learn about this, for he was sure that such an incident was due to the working of Krishna's different energies. Generally, the Kshatriyas, or the administrative class, are always busy with their political affairs, but they have very little chance to hear about the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna. But while Parikshit Maharaj was hearing these transcendental pastimes, he considered himself to be very fortunate, because not only was he hearing Krishna's pastimes, but he was doing so from Shukadeva Goswami, the greatest authority on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Thus being requested by Maharaj Parikshit, Shukadeva Goswami continued to speak about the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna in the matter of his form, qualities, fame, and paraphernalia. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 12th chapter of Krishna, the killing of the Aghāsura demon. Haribol, Sri Krishna ki jai. Oh, pastimes of the Aghāsura demon killing ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Haribol. Okay, so it's only 7:50. We have 10 minutes until 8. But because the next chapter, chapter 13, is very extensive and a little longer, I'm going to stop here. And also it's good for me to take rest and continue to go through this healing process. I'm getting better, day by day, but it still has a way to go. I still can't walk properly. So we'll stop here, the reading, and reflect with the devotees. This is the goal, to talk about Krishna, Krishna's pastimes. Hare Krishna.
From Gopakanya Devidasi.
From Gopakanya Devidasi, Hare Krishna. She's so eager, huh? She makes more comments than anybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj and all friends. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda and your daily readings of Sri Krishna Katha, Maharaj.
Cheers.
Krishna Primavati Devidasi. Hare Krishna Maharaj and devotees, Dandavat Pranamis.
Haribo, Haribo.
Saloni Sachi Sundari. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. All glories to your devotional service.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada and his devotional service.
From
what he did, huh? What he did to write all these books, so that we could just hear and relish and get his association. Many times he said, I've told you everything, especially at the end. He said, everything I wanted to say, I said in my books. I didn't hold anything back. If you want to know me, read my books. So I cannot imagine anybody not becoming absorbed in reading Prabhupada's books. Who has a better idea of how to spread Krishna consciousness than Srila Prabhupada? These books obviously spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. I know very few devotees who came except through somehow or other contacting these books and reading them and becoming not only impressed but moved, deeply moved. If you hear them with faith and love, you'll get love for Krishna. Sure. Hare Krishna.
From Rajalakshmi.
Hare Krishna, Rajalakshmi.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Jai, all glories to you and yours.
And all glories to your daily readings.
Hare Krishna.
From Sudevi Dasi. Hare Krishna Maharaj, another ray of hope in this dungeon of material existence. 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I'm trying to get my 2 feet on the spiritual side. And you're saving the day.
Hare Krishna. Jump in. The water's fine.
From Braj Vallabha Prabhu.
Haribol Raj.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. Everyone takes from Krishna, but what is given back?
What is given back is transcendental pleasure. Krishna gets transcendental pleasure by being with his devotees. As a matter of fact, if you read in the 9th chapter, I think it's 9th canto, 4th chapter, verses 64 and around in there. Matter of fact, get me 9th canto. I'm going to read this to prove it. What Krishna gets from it. It's a great question, by the way, Braj Vallabha. You ask great questions. We're going to fix that pretty soon. Make it easier to get the books out. Okay. 9:4:64. This, I'm reading Canto 9, Chapter 4, beginning with text 64. And Maharaj Ambarish has been cursed by Durvasa Muni, right? And Durvasa Muni, because Maharaj Ambarish was such a great soul, a great devotee, and Durvasa tried to create a demon, fiery demon, by taking hair from his head and throwing it on the ground with a curse. And as soon as he did that, the Sudarsana Chakra came and chased that demon away. Maybe he burned him to ashes, but anyway, somehow or other. And then he started to chase Durvasa Muni. So he went all over. He went to Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva. He went all over the higher planets. Finally went actually to the Vishnu planet of Lord Vishnu, and he's begging Vishnu for shelter and forgiveness. And here's what Lord Vishnu said. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said to the Brahmana, I am completely under the control of my devotees. Indeed, I am not at all independent. Because my devotees are completely devoid of material desires, I sit only within the cores of their hearts. What to speak of my devotee? Even those who are devotees of my devotee are very dear to me. Huh? Next verse. O best of the Brahmanas, without saintly persons for whom I am the only destination, I do not desire to enjoy my transcendental bliss and my supreme opulences. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is self-sufficient, but to enjoy his transcendental bliss, he requires the cooperation of his devotees. In Vrindavan, for example, although Lord Krishna is full in himself, he wants the cooperation of his devotees, like the cowherd boys and the gopis, to increase his transcendental bliss. Such pure devotees, who can increase the pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are certainly most dear to him. Not only does the Supreme Personality of Godhead enjoy the company of his devotees. But because he is unlimited, he wants to increase his devotees unlimitedly. Thus he descends to the material world to induce the non-devotees and rebellious living entities to return home, back to Godhead. He requests them to surrender unto him because, unlimited as he is, he wants to increase his devotees unlimitedly. The Krishna consciousness movement is an attempt to increase the number of pure devotees of the Supreme Lord more and more. It is certain that a devotee who helps in this endeavor to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes indirectly a controller of the Supreme Lord. Although the Supreme Lord is full in 6 opulences, he does not feel transcendental bliss without his devotees. An example that may be cited in this regard is that if a rich, very rich man does not have sons in a family, he does not feel happiness. Indeed, sometimes a rich man adopts a son to complete his happiness. The science of transcendental bliss is known to the pure devotee. Therefore, the pure devotee is always engaged in increasing the transcendental happiness of the Lord. So that's what the Lord gets back from the devotees. Hare Krishna. Great question, Braj Balaba. Thank you very much.
Rati Manjari said, Jai Guru Maharaj, time to get purified.
Jai Rati. Hare Krishna.
Anandamurti Devidas.
Jai Anandamurti. Hare Krishna.
Jai, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. Hearing Krishna book is so pleasurable. Only by your blessing and mercy I have distributed 23 books.
Fantastic.
Of Bhagavad Gita.
Fantastic.
2 books of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and 6 other books.
Very good.
I offer you this result. Jai Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I can't think of anything I've heard today better than that.
Mm-hmm.
Except for the Krishna book, of course.
This is from Gauranga Gopal Prabhu.
Gauranga Gopal, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, so nice to hear these pastimes told by you. We are currently on traveling Sankirtan with Gopalra Prabhu and Bhaktarupa Prabhu and plugged your daily readings on the large screen TV in the accommodation we are staying in. Feels like being at the movies.
Oh my God. I'm embarrassed. But anyway, I'm so glad that you're hearing and loving to hear the pastimes of Krishna. This is our life and soul. Thank you.
This is from Bhakta Rupa Prabhu. Dear Maharaj, we were wondering where is the place for the distribution of other books than Śrīla Prabhupāda's, like the introductory books by disciples and grand disciples.
What are the place for them? Well, Prabhupada asked us to write, so I think it's not wrong, it's not bad, but if those books are done in such a way as to encourage people to read Prabhupada's books, then I think they're good. But what I've experienced is that when I read Prabhupada's books directly, I get something that I can't get from any other book. I get Prabhupada's direct association. And it's empowered, you know. And so I know that the devotees who write books, they enjoy writing them and they make advancement in writing their realizations. Prabhupada wanted us to do that, especially in the Back to Godhead magazine. But in terms of spreading Krishna consciousness, my personal experience is that generally people come from reading Prabhupada's books and join. So I don't know. maybe it makes people who are not ready for Krishna consciousness yet more favorable. I don't know. I don't have any data to, to make a decision about that. So I'll leave it at that. All I know is one thing for sure. You read Prabhupada's books, you get empowered to become Krishna conscious. Hare Krishna. One thing is that Prabhupada's books aren't just about information content. They're about the flow of nectar that comes from his train of thought. And that train of thought changes the heart. So all I can say is, if the books that are being read and distributed change the heart, then it's great. And not distribute it with one of Prabhupada's books. Hare Krishna.
From Krishna Premavati Devidasi.
Hare Krishna.
Nice sentence. Any material arrangement for protecting oneself from death is always unsure. But if one is in Krishna consciousness, then immortality is confidently assured.
Yes.
What an amazing assurance given by Srila Prabhupada.
Exactly. Exactly.
From Sebastian Prabhu. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Jai Bhakti Sebastian.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Haribol.
My question is, what does the killing of the Aghāsura demon mean for our understanding? Your servant, Bhakta Sebastian.
Frankly, I was going to look that up before I read today, but I got distracted by quite a few other things and phone calls, and I didn't check it, and I don't remember off the top of my head. But I do know that Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj made nice recordings of, I think they're audio recordings of Bhaktivedanta Thakur's analysis of all the different demons, what they mean. So I would point you to that. Hare Krishna.
From Rati Manjari.
Hare Krishna, Rati.
Dear Guru Maharaj, my humble obeisances unto you. Yes, my first book was On the Way to Krishna. I was reading this as a young teenager, searching for truth. In his opening words, Prabhupada states that in the commercials we see many smiling people, but when we look around us in real life, we actually see very few people happy. I thought, he's right, and that made me wonder about the rest of the book and willing to find out more. Srila Prabhupada is a master teacher for sure. I pray to take more and more advantage of his wisdom. Yes.
I think that we're safe if we put Srila Prabhupada's books solidly in the center of our lives and distribute mainly those books. I think we're safe, secure.
I remember how you once told me that when you read Srila Prabhupada's books, you felt the clouds clearing from the sky. Yes. I really like that statement.
Yes. That came after a time of editing other books. I didn't feel like that after editing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, but many of the other books that I've edited, I didn't feel the same way. But after reading all those books, it's not that I went away from Prabhupada's books, but I wasn't reading them like I am now, exclusively. And when I started to read them exclusively, after doing all those books, that I felt was unbelievable, how it was like the light came in and my heart got lit up. And that's why I'm so attracted to them and so convinced. And also, I got those two books back in 1972, and I got two of them from two separate sources, and as soon as I realized that they were the same author, I got transcendental symptoms. Hare Krishna. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for your constant encouragement, and also for reading these books, hearing these books. And hearing them is more important, actually, than reading them. You know, the whole human civilization has become addicted to reading in a certain way. But now, because of all of the sense gratification they're absorbed in and all of the anxiety there's in, it's hard for them to sit down and read a book like they used to. And when they do, they read very complicated kinds of books that don't touch the essence of truth and what people are looking for. Therefore, they're not making them happy. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur, Prem, Anandi, Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night. Same place, same station, same topic. The creme de la creme de la creme de la creme. The 10th canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, summarized by that most elevated pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow.